Dylan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Gavin. Thanks for having me. This is wonderful.
I'm going to run our fancy logo and then we'll chat.
Okay. That is a nice logo. I like that.
It's very pretty. I love just the sound of a projector, an old school film projector. Love it. Paying homage to where we've been, and now we're in this wonderful streaming world. We're here today to talk about your short film, The First Time I Saw You. I am a fan of silent films. I direct a lot of music videos that are sort of silent films where I don't have the band in them. I just tell a narrative with some actors sort of set to the music. So I was a big fan of watching this. Where does your love for sort of that style of filmmaking come from?
Yeah, I always liked, the classic silent films of Charlie Chaplin and the like. And I think I always felt that there wasn't enough of it. I'm kind of I'm more of an introvert, more of a quiet person, so I don't. I think there's almost too much talking in movies and in the world. We're just so focused on talking in general in life and the world that we sometimes lose track that there's kind of an alternative, that our days don't have to be kind of filled with talking. And it's kind of a release for me and a relief to take a break from the chatter. And I thought other people could feel the same way if they watch it. They could sort of feel a relief that all they have to do is watch something, have the images tell the story and kind of get lost in that. And I think it could be kind of more of a hypnotic kind of.
Well, I'll back it up a little bit. I usually ask the guests right away just to explain the premise of the movie to the audience for those that haven't seen it yet.
Sure, yeah, that would help. So it's about a man who, man in his late 20s, just normal guy commuting to work in New York City, and he sees a woman shoplifting from a newsstand, and immediately he's kind of enamored with her. Whether you want to believe it's love at first sight or just obsession, that's up to you. But he starts to follow her, and he follows her for the rest of the day, and he's trying to build up the courage to speak to her, but he can't. And the kind of following continues. He ends up sleeping on the street that night in front of her apartment building, waiting for her to wake up. And so days turn into weeks turn into months, and then years. And we kind of see the story from his perspective, and then things kind of take a twist halfway through where we see the story from a different perspective.
Back on the talk of silent film, I had in high school, I had a video production film teacher who would make us watch chunks of movies with the sound off. And he would try to find movies that the majority of the class had not seen. And the lesson is, it's a visual medium. You should always be able to follow the story without the dialogue, without the sound. And if you can't, the movie has done a bad job. Because the opposite of that is one of the things that pains me in watching Hollywood movies is the Matrix, perfect movie. Nothing wrong with it. The sequel, we have scenes where Neo and the Oracle sit down on a bench and literally the entire plot of the movie grinds to a halt so that we get this 5 to 7 or 8 minute, or 10-minute scene where she has to explain how things work because the screenwriters sort of like built too big of a world to now keep showing us visually, that they had to like wedge in all of this exposition. And that's one of my least favorite things when I watch movies.
Yeah.
So when you're casting this movie, are actors interested in taking that challenge, or do you find that they're like, oh man, I don't get to flex my dialogue, and like did they feel like they were lessened in their acting choices, or that it was freeing to do something that wasn't relying on dialogue?
No, I think they all liked it for sure, and it was kind of a nice break for them. Ian, who played the younger version of the main male character, liked it to the point where he's just such a committed, dedicated actor that I let him know that some of the references were, Charlie Chapman. And he kind of took that, you give an actor a suggestion. Sometimes you're surprised when they really take it. And he didn't go overboard, but you just don't expect them to like think about that and probably practice it at home. And since there wasn't dialogue, there wasn't that much for him to rehearse. There's no lines for him to memorize. So I think he put that time into kind of just inhabiting that role and that kind of body language. And I think we really saw eye to eye that it wasn't going to be so over the top kind of slapstick comedy of Charlie Chaplin, like slinking around the streets. We didn't want kind of a callback like the movie The Artist in ways, but just kind of bringing a little bit of that in, that sort of in a dry kind of humor version of that.
Is that where the mustache comes from? Is that where the idea for the mustache comes from, or was that separate?
I think that's where it came from in the script. Yeah, I think always wanting some humor. I definitely wanted. I think people always refer to Gabriel Garcia Marquez. It seems to be the like easy name to bring up if people ask what's your favorite writer or whatever. But I think there's something from him that I was trying to bring into the script, which was kind of that balance between humor and not just drama, but also kind of like a roughness to life, like bringing in the kind of rough, dirty side of life and kind of balancing it out with romance and balancing it out with humor, and kind of allowing, instead of telling a romantic story that just involves just humor or just romance, kind of bringing that dirtiness too. So I want kind of all those elements pop up.
Where in your film career does this film fall? Is this the first short, 90th short? Where have you come from, and where are you heading next?
Oh, somewhere between the first and the 90th. I went to film school and made some shorts there, and like you said, we actually had some exercises where we just made silent films in the first class. But yeah, I continued to make short films out of school at first, just without budget, just to kind of practice and have ideas, and you want to get them out there. And then continue to make them. This one was just out of my own, bank account. But I kind of figured I'm sort of trying to develop a new way to see indie filmmaking, indie film producing, where kind of writing scripts that can be made at least relatively affordably, because
contained isn't that the industry term everybody loves now? A contained movie, yeah.
Right, but I'm trying to find ways, like in this case, the fact that we didn't have dialogue meant we didn't have to have a sound person on set, which means we didn't have to wait. We could film in Grand Central, we could film in
Did you just have like a mic on the camera at least to capture all of your environment sounds and stuff?
I think I would just turn on. I think sometimes I taped a shotgun or put a shotgun on there. Yeah. Like sometimes
it's a low budget when you say you taped a shotgun onto a camera.
For some reason, my that we started taping them instead of using the shock mount that we have. I don't know why.
It's like using it's an 80s reference for anybody 30 and up out there, MacGyvering it, where you just like, I've got 3 toothpicks, a piece of duct tape, and I got to get this microphone to work. You're like, well, tape it to the end of a hockey stick, we're good to go.
Actually, I made a feature in high school. I made a feature film because I was insane, and you're in high school and you can't do anything. So me and my friend just went out there with 2 cameras and some actors that we convinced from New York City to be in this thing, and we literally taped a shotgun microphone to a hockey stick. So
don't we all start in the same place? I mean, I don't know about you. I may or may not have committed a crime in stealing a wheelchair from an old age home, so I had a dolly back in the day.
We rented a
terrible human
from for that film, actually. So we're a little bit.
You rented. I was just like, I can't afford that. I'll just borrow this.
Yeah, hopefully she had other means of getting around for those couple of weeks.
You know what? I feel eternally bad about that I've probably inconvenienced the end of somebody's life at that retirement home. But
listen, if she knew it was for art, I think she would have been okay with
it. I should have just given her an executive producer credit. That fixes everything, right? What's the reaction to this film been? Obviously Reveal is not the first place that people have seen it. You probably went to festivals, you've had other online screenings. What's the feedback you find from audiences about this film?
Yeah, it hasn't shown very widely yet because of the pandemic. I kind of decided, it was just starting to send out to film festivals at the end of 2019. And then I figured putting it in the shelf could be a good thing. I kind of like the idea of a live film festival for it, and I felt pretty proud of it, and I wanted to give it its due. So I just thought, I'll wait. So now I've just kind of done another round of submissions. So just starting to submit again, and it'll be playing at the Inwood Film Festival in Upper Manhattan in June.
Awesome.
But yeah,
Always fun to see your work on the big screen and to be in that room and get the vibe of what people think about it. Your cast is great in this film. Are these actors you've worked with previously, or how, you're living and working in New York City? Is it like Los Angeles where you're just tripping over actors with auditions, or how do you go about finding your cast on a film like this?
Yeah, we are pretty lucky in New York where the pool is pretty wide, even if you're offering I believe pretty much no pay situation. But yeah, we are lucky here. None of these actors I worked with, everybody was cast. I rented an audition room and did the whole casting thing. But it's since worked with Kelly McCready, who plays the younger lead female. Worked, I believe Adam Toback, have interviewed him for this podcast before. We cast her for his film Best Man. So definitely trying to kind of always wanting to create kind of a
Best Man is an excellent short film. Yes, you worked on that as well then. Okay, great. Now, yes, now I see the way. Yeah, I really love that short film, and I hope it ends up on Reveal here one day, so we can have you back on and talk about it.
Okay, whatever bribes we need to send, just let us know.
I'm not. I don't run the bribe department. I just run the interview department. But I can run it up the flagpole and see
Yeah,
how it goes.
let me know your bribing intern. And
you have your secretary call my answering machine, and we'll arrange it all.
Okay.
I know you have to run. This has to be short, but listen, if you make a short film, you get a shorter interview. It only makes sense. You shouldn't really have an interview that lasts longer than the film. Give me a piece of advice for filmmakers out there that are just starting their career. What's the most important thing that they should not do when doing their first film?
Yeah, I think consider what your resources are. Don't just try to make a film that will wow people. Try to really search within, find something personal to say, and then when you write it, really think about what your actual production resources are. I think it could be kind of bland to think about resources when you're writing. Usually we want to separate the two and just get creative when we're writing, but actually I think the production phase, bring it into the writing phase, could actually lead to more creativity. What are the locations you have around? What are the amazing things that are actually free at your disposal, like outdoor locations? Is that crazy sci-fi sequence that you wrote actually doable, or is there a more interesting pared down version of it? Actually trying to make cutting corners and producing an actual creative process during writing.
Use your limitations as advantages, because you're also going to run into limitations on set. So if you figure out how to do it in pre-production and writing, you're already better served to face the challenges of production. And you're right, that sci-fi sequence, the green screen you see in your head is not going to work out the same, most likely, unless you're just a wizard with Unreal Engine and everything else. But yeah, try to and even simpler things. No dialogue in moving cars. You're going to save yourself a ton of money in post-production where you don't have to ADR everything. Have them drive, park the car, turn the car off, and then have the conversation.
Yeah. Green screen, or just blow out the windows and have a friend kind of push the car back and forth to make it move a little bit.
Isn't it like the 2x4 between the wheel and the thing and just rock it back and forth to get the motion of the car? Dylan, great to have you on. I'm glad we got you. I'm so happy I saw first time I saw you and didn't realize that I'd already enjoyed your work in The Best Man. So, the next step is for us to find something to work together on, because this podcast is great to interview people. It's also 10% selfish of just getting to meet the people whose work I like and find paths into creating together.
I feel the same way. I hope to collaborate someday.
Then a year later, we can come back and have our Reveal birthday party where it's a year later and we've made something together that's on Reveal. We'll bring Adam along. We'll at least let him audition.
I'll bake a cake.
Bake a cake. Perfect.
Thanks, Gavin. Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll chat soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye.